Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, April 6th. Today is the beginning of Holy Week. It started yesterday with Palm Sunday. And I have to admit to you that I'm a little bit sad because this is the first time in my entire life that we're not going to go to church this week. For me, church is one of my most favorite places. I've loved church since I was a little girl. It's part of why I'm a priest. I love how beautiful it is. I love that you can pray there. I love that when people gather there, it's because they want to love and be loved and reach out. It kind of seems like everyone's at their best there, so I feel really safe at church. It's always carried with it this kind of otherness quality. We would probably call that holiness, but I always experienced it as almost just like this warm, magical, powerful presence. And I love church. And Holy Week has always been my most favorite time of the year because we get to go to church more than once. And the services in Holy Week are the best of the whole year. Maundy Thursday is usually when we wash each other's feet, when we remember that Jesus sat with his disciples and said goodbye to them. We strip the altar bare in preparation for his death the next day, and everyone is there and everyone's praying, and it's powerful. And then Good Friday, the church is completely empty because Jesus is not there. It symbolizes his death. And it holds such a powerful time to all be there and to not take communion and to remember that day that Jesus sacrificed himself because of his great love for us. And then on Saturday, my favorite service of the whole year, the Easter Vigil, and it happens at night, and the church is completely dark, and you start a fire outside, and you light candles from that one fire, and everybody walks into the church in silence with just one person chanting, "The light of Christ." And then that same person will sing the Exultet, which is the story of God's love for us, and to signify that he's risen from the dead, all the lights of the church come on, and we get to say the A word, and we get to celebrate, and we get to sing, and there's just this feeling of just passion and happiness. I just love that service. And then the next day we have Easter, when the whole family comes together, and everybody comes to church. And we remember that we are a saved people. And I'm grieving that we don't get to do Holy Week like that. That we don't get to go to church. And I don't get to experience Christ's last night and his death and his triumphant return. And I don't get to be with the whole body of Christ. And I just want you to know that I'm feeling that way, because I imagine even if church isn't your thing, you might be grieving some things too. And I think that Actually, that's pretty cool. Because in Holy Week, I imagine that the disciples were grieving that whole week, that they weren't going to get to be with their Lord anymore. And we get kind of a sense of what it's like when your entire world gets changed. But what we know as a Christian people is that there's always a resurrection after a death. There's always God there saying, I can make this better. So I'm going to remember that today. And I'm going to leave you with a quote from the priest Barbara Brown Taylor. And she says this: "No one longs for what he or she already has, and yet the accumulated insight of those wise about the spiritual life suggests that the reason so many of us cannot see the red X that marks the spot is because we're standing on it. The treasure we seek requires no lengthy expedition, no expensive equipment, no superior aptitude or special company. All we lack is the willingness to imagine that we have everything we already need. The only thing missing is our consent to be where we are." So this week, I'm going to remember that I already have Holy Week, that I'm already connected to all of you, that I already have everything that I'm seeking, and I'm going to consent to be right here. And I invite you to do the same.